my name is MirandaValdez. I'm from South Texas and attend Texas A&M Corpus Christi, studying Geographical Information Systems and Geomatics. This summer I had the opportunity to work here at NSF with three amazing mentors in the Directorate of Geosciences, in the divisions of Earth Science with Dr. Dina Patino, Ocean Science with Dr. Elizabeth Mom, and Atmosphere and Geospace with Dr. Amanda Adams. So I'd like to talk a little bit about my projects that I did. I discussed diversity in geoscience education. My first project, the first question I was asked this summer is, what does the current diversity of degrees awarded in geoscience look like? So here is the total degrees awarded in geosciences. This information was collected from the National Center for Science and Engineering Statistics on degrees awarded from associates to PhD specifically in geosciences. I removed all the data for the temporary residents, so this is just going to be U.S. citizens, and you can see that the bachelor's degrees awarded have increased substantially over the years, and not so much the graduate degrees. In 2014, out of the 9,000 degrees that were awarded, 6,500 bachelor's degrees were awarded, a little less than 2,000 master's, and about 563 PhD degrees were awarded in geosciences. Now, when looking at the diversity of those degrees, you'll notice that the associate's degrees is actually going to be the most diverse. Now, first I want to point out that the column all the way to the right is going to be the 2010 U.S. Census data to kind of give you a comparison of what the current diversity of the country looks like. Now, I want to point out that 11% of the U.S. citizens in 2010 were Hispanic, about 4% were Asian, 1% American Indian, and 12% were African American. Now, when comparing that to the degrees awarded in geosciences from 2006 to 2014, only about 20% of degrees awarded, associate's degrees were awarded to members of underrepresented groups. This is actually consistent through all degrees. It's always about 20% or less. I also want to point out that in 2014, Hispanics were awarded about 11% of the associate degrees, and Asian or Pacific Islanders were awarded about 3%. Now, going on to bachelor's degrees, kind of look at the data changing. You'll notice that there's going to be more other or unknown. But another thing that I do want to point out is the majority of bachelor's degrees are awarded to Hispanic, which is 8%, and African American, which is 3% of total bachelor's degrees awarded in 2014. And the lowest number of degrees was American Indian or Alaska Native, which you will see is light green, and you can tell, you can barely see it there, with 0.66% in 2014. When we continue to master degrees awarded in geosciences, these numbers just continue to decrease, with Hispanics receiving only 5%, African Americans receiving only 2%, and American Indians receiving only 0.22%. I also want to point out that here you can see that other or unknown categories start to decrease a little since 2011, since the two or more races, that's when they started collecting the data on that. For PhDs, these numbers are even lower, still less than 20% for members of underrepresented less than 20% awarded to members of underrepresented groups. I want to also point out that in 2014, there was 583 degrees awarded, PhD degrees awarded in geosciences. Only 64 of those degrees were to members of underrepresented groups, including one person that was an American Indian or Alaska Native. I do want to discuss the retention, too, of the geoscience degrees. So this is basically the average from 2011 to 2014 of master and PhD degrees awarded compared to the bachelor's degrees awarded. So you'll see that most of the time, for master's degrees, it's around 25 to 30% of bachelors continue to receive their master's. This is a lot lower with Hispanic and Asian or Pacific Islander groups. But now looking at the PhD degrees awarded, you'll see that it's very low for the American Indian, Alaska Native, less than 5%, and also Hispanic groups. So now I want to talk about the geo research experience for undergraduates, the REUs, and how the demographics of the participants look like. So the first demographic we're going to go to is continue with the diversity. Now, this is going to be the diversity for all geo REUs, and then it's divided up by the different divisions of geo, including AGS, Atmosphere and Geoscience, Earth Sciences, and Ocean Sciences. As you can see, in 2016, almost 40% of all participants in geo REUs were members of underrepresented groups. And actually, in 2017, this is the first year that 50% of participants in geo-funded REUs were from underrepresented groups, including 60% if you look at just Earth Sciences. Another thing that I would like to point out on this slide is that the increase in Pacific Islanders in 2017, because Earth Science and Ocean Science added a site in Hawaii this year. Next, I want to compare the diversity of these geo-REUs to the undergraduate degrees earned in geosciences. When looking at these degrees, you'll see that the geo-REUs are much more diverse. Even in 2014, when the last data was collected, 30% of participants in geo-REUs were members of underrepresented groups, whereas only 20% in degrees earned for both associate's and bachelor's degrees. The next demographic I looked at is gender. So traditionally, geo-REU participants are female, with over 60% female in 2017, which means that geo has the opposite problem and where they have to recruit more male participants to their programs. Next thing I looked at was the academic level of the participants for the geo-REUs. Traditionally, mostly rising juniors and seniors. However, we have seen an increase in rising sophomores and students entering college, which you can actually see if you pay attention more to the Ocean Science REU programs. They have the most consistent data throughout the years, and you'll see the increase in blue and purple. And finally, for the REUs, we look at the participant's home institution. Now, to get a better idea, I took out anyone who goes to a PhD granting school, so these are just going to be community colleges, HBCUs, and tribal colleges. You can see an increase in the number of community colleges from 2014 to 2017. And in 2017, this was largely due to the over 50 participants in Earth Sciences and the little less than 40 in Ocean Sciences. However, we also have good increase in HBCUs from 2015 to 2017. And for this year, it's mostly due to Ocean Sciences again, but also AGS having a little bit more from the HBCUs the last couple of years. And finally, I'd like to share some of my experiences here at NSF. Now, I just want to say that I consider my program at my home institution to be more of an applied science. You learn concepts in class and you go repeat it to solve a problem. I had never heard of research. My idea of research prior to this was you read somebody else's research and synthesize it, write a report. What did you learn? But here, I understand now more of the different research opportunities and understand the steps in each research project. Another thing I got to practice here that I don't get to practice at home is because of the lack of research, we don't really get to practice technical writing. I don't know how to communicate science in writing. Verbally, okay, I can explain it to you, but not in writing. Because of my mentors helping me this summer, they let me practice and also improve my technical writing skills. And finally, the last opportunity I've had while here is to kind of learn more about my future options. Meeting the different professionals here at NSF or outside in DC has kind of gave me a better path on what I want to do for myself in the future. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Working in that kind of data is really very